Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another investigation into KickASSery. This has become a really cool thing, and I'm super excited because more and more people are wanting to become a part of this investigation. And so I am Dale Maxwell. I have Andy Smyth on here with me this morning. Andy, to me, has been probably one of the biggest influences on my life as a young man and as well as an adult. Andy has probably influenced thousands of people over his 4-H career. So, with all that, Andy, who are you a little bit, and what are you doing now?
Well, some days I wonder what I'm doing, Dale.
Fair enough.
Well, for those that don't know me, my name is Andy Smyth, and Smith is spelled Smyth, just for the record. I was a fourth generation farmer here in Canyon County for 35 years. I quit farming in '08. I had got my real estate license in '06, so there was kind of an overlap for a couple of years, and then I elected to retire from the farming and have been pursuing the farm and ranch real estate. I don't know what if you call it a profession or a game or exactly what you call it, but some days it's fun and some days it's not, but it is what it is. But as Dale mentioned, I was involved in I have been a 4-H volunteer for 44 years. I was a 4-H member for 8 years back in the day when I was a little bit younger than I am now. So did all the stuff that those of you who are in 4-H did. I did everything I could figure out to be a part of. I was a camp counselor, was a member of our teen 4-H Builders Club. Went to India, spent 6 months on an international 4-H youth exchange program. I actually started my career as a volunteer at age 16 when our local 4-H club leader quit, and I went to our extension agent and said, "Hey, yo, dude, our leader quit. Can I just be the leader?" And
Wow.
he thought a minute and says, "Well, gosh," he says, "I don't see why not." Max Gardner. I don't know if anybody's out there who remembers Max Gardner or not, but he was a great guy, and that started my career as a volunteer. And over the years, have continued. My driving force for wanting to continue as a volunteer was simply the fact that 4-H meant so much to me as a kid, as a teen, when I was growing up, that I just wanted to do whatever I could to be some small part of things that we could continue to offer kids through 4-H to help them gain the leadership skills, the speaking skills, the interaction skills that I learned in 4-H as a youth. And these skills have served me so well in my adult life, I can't begin to express. But that's been the reason that I have continued for so long. And I have retired from some of the things that I did for a long time, but I still am a member of the Cascade Lake 4-H Camp Board, and I am still on the National 4-H Congress Planning Committee. And in that role, I get to, I just attended my 24th National Congress here over Thanksgiving weekend.
Wow.
And at there, I go as a volunteer. For some reason, they keep asking me back. And I work with the kids who are selected from among the delegation who apply to serve on what's called the leadership team. And the leadership team is the group of delegates who are the MCs and who preside at each of our main assemblies. So my job is to coach them, rehearse them, make sure they know how to properly address the podium and invite the next speaker to the guest, all this sort of thing. And I'm the one that says it's time to start. And we start every function exactly on the hour, on the dot. And it's just awesome. It's such an honor to be able to work with those kids. So that's the Reader's Digest version, Dale.
I love it. And that is very true, a Reader's Digest version, because, Andy, um, you saw my chat a couple weeks ago with Nancy Chaffin,
I did
and
indeed. Yes.
between you and Nancy, and of course a plethora of others, but for me personally, you and Nancy had the most direct influence on me as a teenager in 4-H. And the thing that I owe you the most, and you and I've talked about this 1,700 times, and we say a lot of the same things. And the thing that you influenced me on was that you saw in me what I didn't see.
Absolutely.
And that is a legacy that I'm sure was instilled in you as a youth, because you went to India. I mean, you were a farm kid from nowhere, Idaho, and you got to experience all these things as youth. And between you and Nancy, I would have never experienced the things, and I would have never came out of my shell the way I did without you guys. So I am eternally grateful for everything that you've done for me. And the beauty of leadership, whether it's through 4-H, whether it's through business in life, the beauty of leadership and the way that you teach leadership is a legacy format. It's not just about Andy Smyth. It's about Andy and all the kids and all the adults that you have influenced, and you've instilled in us the ability to go outside of ourselves and to duplicate that down the line.
Well, thank you, Dale. That's very gratifying to hear you say that. I have to say that listening to you and Nancy last week was it was incredible. I mean, it
It
just brought
was.
back so many memories. Nancy is
Yeah.
just a delightful woman in every way. She has always been one of these people who just wants to learn and grow and help those around her to do the same. And I will never forget the times that there were several times that she invited me to come over to Salmon, which, as you point out, is way out in the middle of who knows where. And
Yeah.
but it's a beautiful country. And it was always, Nancy was just such a warm, caring person. It was just evident to anyone who saw her interact with you guys just how much she cared and how much she wanted to do whatever she could do to help these kids grow into productive, successful adults.
Yeah.
And she is a master at it, and apparently is now applying those skills with other adults. So
Yeah.
good for her. But
Yeah.
that was awesome. And when you told that story about that time, the one time I came over there, and I remember that day very clearly, it just kind of brought back all that stuff. But it's like you said, Dale, and as you know, 4-H has this way of pulling in kids who kind of get looked over by the cliques
Mhm.
at school, by the jocks, by the National Honor Society kids, all those. 4-H has a way of pulling those kids in, and I don't really know what the answer is, other than that I have lived it for 44 years as a
Yep.
volunteer and for 8 years as a kid who was involved in that directly myself. And there are so
Absolutely.
many kids that I've known over the years that I could tell you stories about who were just kids who had been left by uh, the wayside, if you will. And
Mhm.
somehow these 4-H kids, of which you were one, and you were one of the ones who would go out and pick up the little waifs along the road and pull them in and say, "Hey, you can do this." And you did it because maybe some of us saw that in you and encouraged you to bring it out. And as you grew and developed and realized you had this ability, man, you started using it. I mean, all those years at teen conference that you came back and came back and came back. And again, it wasn't about Dale. It was about the fact that you understood that you had this ability to connect with these teens, and that in your connecting with them, it pulled them out of where they were and helped them see that they could be so much more.
Mhm.
It's an amazing, amazing thing.
It is, and you want to talk about legacy? Yeah, Brad Payne's on here with us now,
Yes. Awesome.
and Brad has
Hey,
taken
Brad.
over. Yeah, Brad has taken
Yeah.
over for you at your Builders Club, and
Yep.
he's gone on. He had
Yep.
a career in the military, and
Yep.
now he's gone on to school, and he's he's another great example of what you have instilled into the community. And you know, there's so many stories we could go forever. But
Absolutely.
what I would love to talk about is leadership. You ran the advanced leadership program at our state leadership teen conference, a 4-H conference, for years. You also created the ambassador program, which ran for years. You also have worked on the national level for years. So when you're working with youth, specifically our teenagers, give me just a couple things of what you want to get out of it. What do you want to instill in these kids and say you can? Give me
Well, I
some of
think,
that.
yeah, well, well, use the ambassador program because that's probably the thing I am most proud of the many things I've been able to do, given the opportunity to do as a result of my involvement in 4-H. The ambassador program probably means the most to me. I mean, we did not have an ambassador program in the state of Idaho. I had gone to a national conference that year as an adult chaperone and talked to other volunteers there and other kids, and not every state had one, but many states did. And I just thought, well, crap, we need one here. And there was a teen there by the name of Jamie Hamilton from Ada County, and she got excited about it. And I came home. I don't know how many people on this who will hear this who even know the name Mary Lee Wood, but she was on the state 4-H staff, and I had known her for years. Met her at Teen Congress in Moscow years ago when I was a teenager. So I came home and I was all on fire to, hey, we need to do this. So I talked to Mary Lee and a couple people, And this Jeannie Hamilton, she wanted to help. So came up, well, you got to get permission from the state 4-H director. Oh, cool. So I heard he was going to be in Boise, and he was an interim state 4-H director. So we didn't know how long he was going to be there. So I went and saw Joe, and I explained what I wanted to do, and blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me, and he said, well, he says, people have tried that, and I don't think it'll work. I said, well, so I said, can I do it? Well, he says, yeah, go on and do it if you want to, but I don't think it'll work. Almost quote. I'm not going to say it's a quote, but that was his message. Well, people have tried. It won't work. You can't do it, but it's okay with me if you want to go try it. Well,
Right.
Long story short, for 28 years, it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And literally thousands of kids had the opportunity to go for a weekend, the weekend before Thanksgiving, every November. We had it at several camps, but we had it at camps up in the mountains to get kids away from any city influence. So they're just there. They have nothing to think about, but they're 4-H friends and the classes and stuff that was going on. And Mary Lee Wood was instrumental. She and I sat down and kind of came up with a format for the weekend. Turned out we never changed it. Never changed from the first year to the 28th year. It remained the same. It just worked. It just flipping worked. And we would get 60 to 90 teens every November from all over the state of Idaho who would come. And Friday night was get acquainted, and during all day Saturday we'd bring people in who gives workshops on public speaking and how to interact with your audience, all this sort of thing, how to be a good speaker, and then how you might use that when you get home. Who are you going to speak to, and what's going to be your message, etc. Excuse me, et cetera, et cetera. Then Saturday night we had some fun stuff where the kids did skits with their districts and kids they knew, kind of all bonding kind of stuff. And then Sunday morning, they all had to give a speech to the whole group. So they're giving a speech to 80 of their peers and 15 or 20 adults. And they either had to talk about how 4-H has helped prepare me for the quote unquote real world, or they could talk about someone who had been influential in their 4-H career. And these topics made them really reflect on, what have I done in 4-H? How has it helped me? What have I learned? Who has been there for me to help pull me out of my shell and make me a better person? And I'll tell you, sorry.
No, you're good, man.
Some of those speeches that those kids gave,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Phenomenal.
unbelievable. I mean, you would never think that you could get, people talk about, teens, yeah, they won't work. They don't think, they have no brain. They don't know how to use it. They won't ever communicate well. The heck they won't. I mean, those of the kids that were there, usually you'd get a third of them it was all they could do to get them to the mic, to get them to say a few words, and they'd sit down. But they did it. Then, yeah, I see you pointing at yourself. And then the middle third got up and gave a good, we'll say just gave a good speech. They were able to stand up and pretty much say what they had written down or had in their brain, however they chose to do it. And then another 5 to 10% were really good speeches. And then you had 5 to 10% of kids who just literally blew everybody out of their chair. I mean, with the type of experience they chose to speak about and the way they were able to explain clearly and describe and eloquently talk about how this, whatever it was, had affected them to the core.
Yeah.
And I mean, my gosh, you would sit there as an adult and think about all the headlines on the news and the papers about how terrible the world is and how terrible kids are. And you would think, man, you people don't have a clue. You should be here with me and these other people listening to these teens pour their hearts out in a most effective, dramatic, clear way. I just can't. You've been there, Dale. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But that experience, the ambassador experience, was, and you'd sit there. I would sit there and think, well, gosh, I had some small part to play in providing this opportunity for these teens to come here and get some training and be encouraged to come out of their shell and encouraged to actually stand in front of the group and try to express themselves. And it was unbelievable, just flipping unbelievable. And there was a young man came one year. Oh God, I forget his name. Wayne Heath. You know Wayne. Dale?
Yep.
Wayne came to ambassador the first year, and I thought, I mean, I'm a kind of I like to study people and human nature and this kind of stuff because I guess I have nothing better to do. But anyway, I see this kid. He's a big kid. Walks in. He's wearing a camo jacket. And he just kind of within himself, really. And I thought, I wonder if we'll ever see him again.
Right.
And he did. I don't know if Wayne said, a dozen words to anybody the whole weekend long. And when it came Wayne's turn to speak, man, it took him a while to kind of get up out of the chair, and then he kind of shuffled over to the mic, and I don't think he said a 2 dozen words. I don't even remember what he said, but he did get up and walked over there, sat down. I thought, we'll never see him again. Next year, guess who shows up?
Yep.
Wayne Heath. And he said a little more. And he came 4 years, and his dad came a couple years and helped chaperone. And we watched that kid just literally come out of his shell. Mm-hmm. And he then went on to be a college staff at Teen Conference, and he graduated from U of I last spring. I mean, who would have guessed that first year that young man would find that piece of himself that was able to communicate, was able to achieve things and accomplish things and get on down the road. So that's just one example. You know examples as well as I do, Dale. But it's
there's story after story after story after story, and that's the beauty of it. And it all starts with the environment. It all starts with the adults setting the environment and making sure that these kids understand that they have adults in their life that love them regardless, that are not judging and are going to hold them to they're going to be held accountable. And teenagers, I have a 5 and a 3-year-old. Teenagers are still my favorite age group.
Same here.
I love my kids at this age, but teenagers for me, because you can challenge them so hard, and you can push them to the limit. And for me, I'm a smart ass, so I can give them shit all day long, and that's part of. But see, the thing that there's so many things, but kids love at that age. They love to know that there's an adult that gives two shits.
Absolutely.
Not saying that their parents don't. Not saying that there's someone in their family that doesn't.
Right.
But, and you've already said it, is that our teenagers get such a hard rap. When I was a teenager, I'm sure when you were a teenager, teenagers were, they were scum. They don't know what they're doing. They're smart asses. They're this, they're this, they're this, they're this.
Yeah.
But what I have these conversations with adults all the time. And I'm like, you realize that they're your future boss, right?
That's right.
You realize they're the future senators. They're the future business owners. They're the future window washers and toilet scrubbers and post hole diggers and entrepreneurs. You realize that our retirement is kind of sort of reliant upon them, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's crazy to me, Andy, how when we become parents or adults or what, there's this time in our lives that we flip the switch where we are no longer, what's a good way to put this? We're no longer sympathetic to our younger generations, and it's us versus them.
Yeah, I think as a society that definitely tends to happen.
And we're screwing ourselves, in my opinion. We really are, and it drives me nuts. But it also encourages me to go out there even more and say, let's go.
We're going to do something about this. Yeah.
Let's figure something out. Yeah. And I've been out of the game for a couple of years because life takes us in different ways. But I'm really excited to get back in the game. And I'm really excited to get back in working with teenagers. And I went to the local community here, and they really don't have much for teens here. And now, of course, my thought is, well, let's go get something started. Let's go do this,
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we'll see what it all comes out. But at the end of the day, man, Andy, the thing that not a lot of people know this, and you can hate me later for bringing it up, but not a lot of people know this, but there would not be a national Congress right now if it wasn't for you and a handful of other people. Period.
Well, that's a true story. I played some small role, but there was about 18 people that pulled it out of the fire.
Right.
Back in, 95, 96.
Yeah. If it wasn't for you, Congress would not exist because it was discontinued. And
it was. That's a fact.
Absolutely. I was the fruits of that labor. because I got to go to Congress twice as a delegate because
Yep.
we had the regional and we
Right.
brought the national back. So I'm one of the few people that got to say that as a delegate, I got to go to Congress twice.
Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you what, that trip right there, and the reason I bring that up is full circle, is you and Wayne. Oh my gosh,
Wayne Sharp.
Wayne Sharp.
Wayne
Thank you.
Sharp. Yes. Yes.
You and Wayne Sharp were the chaperones for that trip down Salt Lake City.
Yeah. 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 Right.
And that was the first time I really got to know you.
Yeah.
Really, we had that was when was that? 95.
Well, yeah. 95. I'm pretty sure it was 95.
Yeah, 95. So you hadn't started coming to team conference again yet
Right.
as a
Right.
chaperone. So
Right.
really, that's the first time I had ever met you.
Yeah.
And the way you and Wayne handled us was like nothing else I had experienced before. You guys had a 2-level suite, if you remember right. Your room was
Yes.
was
Yes.
a suite,
Yes. Right. Right.
and all of the other counties, all of the other states, they had a curfew, hard curfew. They were
Yep.
like, "You will be in bed at this time." You
Yep.
and Wayne were like, "Come on in. If you guys aren't going to sleep, we want you guys with us. So then that way we don't have to worry
Yep.
about you. Just hang out
Yep.
with us." And
Yep.
we played cards and we watched movies and I mean till all hours of the night. And you guys
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
like, "Okay, we're going to bed. You guys just close the door when you leave."
True
And
story.
it was. And I know for a fact you get flack about that all the time from other leaders. But here's the thing that you taught me at a very young leadership age was that if you trust, you set the parameters, and you set the expectations, young people 9 times out of 10 are going to do the right thing.
You have learned well.
And I learned it from you, brother. I learned
Well,
it from you, man,
thank you.
because, and I've taken that philosophy and I've taken it around the world. You know, even when I was in Germany running the 4-H program over
Yep.
there,
Yep. Yep.
I took that same philosophy that you and Wayne taught me, and I
Yeah.
said, listen, here's the expectations. Here's what could happen and what could not happen. If you make the right choices, it's your choice.
Right.
And kids that have never been talked to like that, brother, they just look at you and go, I don't know what to do.
True story.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because us as adults have this bad habit of just ramming crap down their throat and saying, you will, you will, you will.
Yep. No,
So
I could not agree more. No. Well, and it's, again, to use the word gratifying twice, it is, Dale, to hear you
yeah,
express how you feel about it and to feel that maybe I had some small part of that somewhere along the way. It means a great deal to me. I mean, that's why people like me do what we do, because we like to think that at some point along the line, what we did made some small difference in someone's life. And to hear someone of your caliber say those things means a great deal to me. And I have to say, Dale, I don't know, maybe there's something in the water in Ohio. I'm not sure what it is, but something has got you fired up here lately. I don't quite know what to say, but it's freaking awesome, man. It's crazy. We are seeing the real Dale at work here, and I hope he just keeps motoring on. That's all I can say.
I really appreciate that, man. You know,
Oh yeah.
When we just, for everybody, if you don't know, I'm an Army wife. So I get a chance to follow my wife all over the United States and all over the world. And Andy, it's taken me quite some time. I'm still not good at it, but it's taken me quite some time to figure out how to do these moves.
Yep.
I'm a homeboy. I'm an Idaho kid, and
Yep.
I never thought I would move outside of the state, and that was fine. That was perfectly good with me. I was in Boise. I had business.
Yep.
I was doing well.
Yep.
And then wife joins the military, and we're off, right?
Right.
And it's taken me 3 moves now for one thing, I didn't know what the hell to expect.
Right.
I don't know.
How would you know? Yeah.
Right. I wasn't from a military family. I didn't know these things. So it's taken me this long. And when we moved here, it's only a 3-year stint. And I made a choice. I chose I'm not going to get as involved in the business community here.
Right.
The reason is because I have this hard time saying no. When
Yep.
someone's like, "Oh,
Yep.
hey," I'm like, "Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do
Yeah.
that. We can
Yeah.
do that. We
Yeah.
can do that."
Yeah.
And I get bogged down. I get overwhelmed, and then it's too many irons in the fire. I'm
Yep.
like an octopus on roller skates. A lot of action, no direction. So when we came here, I made a choice. I said, here's what we're going to do. I am not going to get involved in the business community here. I've been sitting on this body language thing for way too
Yep.
long.
Yep.
And I've let fear
Yep.
dictate what I don't do.
Yep.
And I'm sick and freaking tired of it.
Well, good. It's about time.
Yeah, it's about time, right? Nobody ever accused me of being quick, but I'll eventually figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So where I'm at, brother, is I'm finally listening to counseling that you've been giving me for a long time, and a lot of people in my life have been giving me for a long time. Is that this is where I should be, and this is
Yeah.
what I should be doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this whole kickassery thing is just
Uh,
kind of come along as well. So then I can talk to amazing people and spread your message and spread your experiences, so that it's not just in our tiny little microcosm.
yep. Yep.
We
Yep.
can push this out and we can have a bigger impact. What this is going to turn into, I don't know. Maybe this is
Time will
just for
tell.
fun. Time will tell.
Time will
Yeah,
tell.
maybe
Yes.
maybe this is
Time
just
will tell.
fun.
Well,
But
I'll tell you something, Dale. I've never really shared this with anybody much outside of my intimate circle, we'll say. But, when I was a kid, I don't know why I did what I did. There was some part of me that just was drawn to these teen leadership. I mean, 4-H meant so much to me when I was a kid. But I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I was a student body officer at Parma High School. I was a state championship tennis player, so it wasn't like I was some little lost by the road dude at school or anywhere else. But there was just something about 4-H that just sucked me in, and God gave me certain gifts, which it took me many, many years to first acknowledge, and then B, think, well, gee, I have this, I should use it. And one of those things was my ability to connect with teens. I don't know why I'm that way. We're just born the way we are. We're given what we're given. But I struggled for decades, literally, with accepting that and finally getting to the point that they say, well, I do have this, so I should go use it. And maybe that's a little bit of what's going on with you. I don't know. All the moving and stuff makes it hard to settle into things. But I just sense in you the last month or two that you're coming to the point that you're acknowledging that you do have this gift and you should be out there spreading it around and doing what the good Lord wanted you to do with it, which is to influence other people in a most positive way. And I say, right on, dude, keep on trucking. I mean, I'm a little older than I used to be. I've collected more birthdays than I'd like to admit. But, inside it never changes. You still
yeah,
have the drive. You still have the desire to accomplish and to have goals and have dreams and work on them. And I hear, I haven't heard every video you've posted here recently, but I've listened to half of them at least. And it doesn't matter which, I will say, genre the people you talk with come from in their lives. What is their interest? They're not all interested in teen leadership like you and I are. They're interested in something else. But at the end of the day, you kind of, I had this cancer that's been pretty well beat down to all but nothing. I'm feeling really good. But I had a couple years there when I wasn't right. And it wasn't my fault. I didn't know what it was. They finally found it. They fixed it. But you do a lot of soul searching then because you don't know if you're going to be around or what the frick's going to happen down the road. And you think back on what you've done. You think ahead and, oh, man, I'm getting old. Well, screw that. I'm going to live to be 150. So I still got a lot of stuff to do. And it's just
amen.
like you keep on trucking. Colonel Sanders was 66 years old, flat broke, had tried many things in his life, never really been successful, and thought,
Yep.
well, hell, let's try this fried chicken thing and see where that goes. Well, we all know how that story played out. 66 years old, flat broke, and gives it a go. And look what he did.
Yep.
So, and I hear some of these younger people on these posts that you share and stuff, and they're out there, giving it the Dickens and trying to stir people up. And so you think, well, what really is the secret? What is it that
Right.
drives certain people to be successful and
Right.
other people don't? Some people talk and talk and talk and never get it done. And then there's these few people who, for whatever reason, find the answer, at least in their life and for them, that catapults them to magnificent success in whatever area of endeavor it happens to be. And to me, it all boils down to, I mean, you can go to all the classes, all the workshops, listen to all the people, and they all have their little take. They all have their little spin on, well, this is what it takes to be successful. Well, and they're probably right. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you don't have that spark inside, in here,
Yeah.
that to me is the real driving force. And if you have that something in your heart, in your soul, that you want to accomplish this thing, whatever it is, that really is what picks you up on those days when the day before you literally got your face stomped into the mud and could hardly breathe. And you're thinking, why don't I just lay here and just call it good?
Yep.
But something in you pulls you up
Yep.
out of the mud. And the next morning you're there, where's my horse? I'm going to get back on and get going. It's that whatever it is in each of us, if we can find it, that spark, that dream, that hope, whatever it is that causes us to get up and get going.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is, it took me years and years to get there. And all these years of farming, I farmed, as you know, for many, many years.
Yep.
And every year's a new year. Well, shit, I'm not going to do what I did last year because that didn't work. So you try something else.
Right.
But it's not so much about farming. It's about people. It's about people and how you can help other people to become better people.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Andy, you have a survivor story that needs to be shared because you overcame a cancer that kills pretty much everyone except for you. Because for one, you're too damn stubborn to give in, right?
I'm not done yet. Not done yet, Dale.
Right. And you touched on a couple things there real quick that I want to expand on just for a minute. Is that one, you have a survivor story, Andy, that is amazing and phenomenal. And
well, thanks, man. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I was lucky. Somebody was watching out for me, Dale, is all I can say. And there's more I'm supposed to do.
Amen, because I'm selfish and I'm not done with you either. So
well, I hope not.
So the other thing that you touched on is, like the spark that's in us or whatever we want to do. And Colonel Sanders being a lot older. Did I lose him? Oh no! I think he froze up. Anyway, while he's coming back, my what I'm saying is that.
Sorry, Dale. I guess some call came in and it cut me off for a couple minutes.
Oh no! Okay, we're good. We're good. What I was saying, brother, is that one of the things that I've struggled with over the last 5, 6 years is the age thing. You brought up the whole Colonel Sanders thing.
Yes.
And by now in my life, I had in my mind that I would be in a completely different place. I'd be more successful. I would be blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And that's always bothered me. That's always bothered me because for one, I'm a very impatient person when it comes to my success. I should be done right now. This should be done.
I know.
I'm a sprinter, not a marathon runner, and that's caused me issues. But I finally just accepted that, you know what? I'm just a big dumb kid. I'm always going to be a big kid. I still have kids. Kids say that I'm less mature than they are, and I accept that and say thank you. But
here.
At the same time, though, is that I just had to accept that, what doesn't matter. I have, like you said several times, I still have a crap ton to accomplish. And I better get on this, and I better make this happen now, or procrastination is just going to bite me in the ass.
That's right.
So, but anyway.
No time like the present.
Amen to that. Amen to that, man. Absolutely. Now that you've kicked cancer in the ass, you have created and ran and been a participant in some of the best leadership programs in Idaho. You are still an integral part of the National Congress program. What's next, man? I mean, you still have 20 years in you. So what's next? Where does Andy Smyth take his life, his legacy, his cancer story, all of these amazing success stories that you've had in youth leadership through 4-H? What's next?
Well, that's a really good question, Dale, and I do find myself contemplating that from time to time. And I have to say, the cancer thing really was, I don't know, put me on a detour for a couple of years. And just quickly, it's multiple myeloma, and it's a cancer of the blood. It's very difficult to find. In my case, I was lucky they found it very, very early, and otherwise I'm a very healthy, strong person. So I had a very successful treatment, 7 months of chemo, and that ended about 14 months ago. And
oh no, he must have got another phone call. Technology, you gotta love it. Did we lose it? Hello. I love the pucker face though that it picked to lose him on. One of the things that Andy and I have talked about it quite a bit over the last several years is the conversation we're having right now is youth leadership and where a lot of organizations are going and where they're not going. And Andy is such a huge, huge lover of youth and the leadership aspect of it that I am very curious as to see where he goes next and how he takes what he has learned over a lifetime and moving it forward. Andy was integral in giving me a platform to teach my body language for years at the team conference. I came back for an additional 15 years after I was a delegate. I was there for 20 years, and he always had a platform for me. And that was part of his advanced leadership program at conference. Was a whole session was dedicated to communication, and I would do my body language thing. It looks like we lost him completely. So there's some professionals now that went through his advanced leadership program, 4-H alum that went through it, and they have gone on to be very successful. And a couple of them we're going to have on here over the next couple months is talking to them and listening to their story and seeing where they've gone and how they've have done things. So it looks like he's coming back on. There he is.
Dale. My stupid blankety blank expletive deleted phone. Some ding dong tried to call me. They left a message, and when it left the message, it took me out of here.
That's okay. We're still here.
Sorry about that.
I was saying all sorts of nasty things about you, so it's
well,
all
that's why. Yeah, I'm sure you were. Anyway, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, I think I was talking about the cancer and that what I got. Many people do not survive. It's a nasty, icky thing. Anyway, but I'm finally just now the last month or two kind of getting back and done with the chemo, done with the effects of the multiple myeloma, which affects your brain and everything. So anyway, I'm thinking about the very point you made up. What am I going to do, and what do I do? There's too much that I have been given through 4-H and other things to just quit. So, I mean, I'm investigating the possibilities of going out and speaking and sharing the story or sharing the experience, whatever. I don't know really how to do that, but I'm investigating that. I part of started a new group that went to a fly fishing retreat for men with cancer last summer, and so there's some work to do there to provide some ongoing opportunities for those men to have these opportunities. Men are not wired to talk about how they feel or their emotions. And so these men get cancer, and it's brutal. I mean, as a man, cancer attacks you at some very fundamental levels. The way men value themselves is, how much money we make, what we have, the stuff we have, and if certain parts of our body work the way we want them to work. And cancer just attacks all of that. It just, as a man, it takes you out. And so men have to deal with this stuff, and we don't have a place to do it. This Idaho 2 Fly organization makes an attempt to do that by providing these retreats where you go and you can talk about it with other men. So there's some things there that I plan to do. My skills of putting meetings together and organizing groups, I'm going to use those in there. There's nothing I would like more than to talk to 4-H groups and share my experience with 4-H and that people can do these things, that volunteers still can start programs and benefit kids and benefit extension in the 4-H program. There are kids out there still that need to be encouraged, as you were encouraged, as I was encouraged when I was a teen through 4-H. So where does it go? I don't know. How to make it happen? I'm not sure yet, but we're still plugging and we're still trucking on, and we're going to make some things happen. I don't know exactly how, but time will tell.
We'll make it up as we go.
There you go.
That seems to be like my ethos anymore. We'll just make it up as we go. And it drives my wife bonkers, man, because she's a very structured, got to have everything put together. She's military, so and then there's me. I'm like, you know what? I want to do this. Well, how do you do it? Right. Hell if I know. Let's just jump in and figure it out.
That's right.
It's so funny because a lot of the projects I've taken on over the last 4 years have been so outside of the box, so unique. When it comes to the Throwback Flicks program that we started to help nonprofits raise money and watch movies.
Right.
Nobody's doing that. How the hell do you do it? I don't know. Let's figure it out. You and I actually started that you and I actually started that in
Yeah,
Idaho.
I
Oh
remember.
man, forever
Yeah.
ago. And the stars didn't line up and things didn't work
Yep,
out. So,
yep,
but
yep.
I took
We
that
had the
forward.
idea. We had the idea.
Yep, absolutely. And
Yep,
the thing that I love about like you and Nancy specifically, let's go down this road for a second. The thing that I love
yeah,
about you and Nancy specifically is that if any of us had ideas that were not illegal,
right.
but
Exactly.
even if they were
Hopefully wouldn't
like,
cause bodily harm.
exactly, if as long as that wasn't the case, and you guys were like, well, how bad do you want to do this? Well, I
Yep,
think this is a great idea. Awesome, let's
yep,
figure it out.
yep.
And taking that, and I think that's a farmer's mentality. I think that's a rancher's mentality because you have to be multi income
Well,
strategy,
yeah,
all these
yeah,
things. But at the same
yeah.
time, you take that into the 4-H environment and youth development, and leadership, and everything else, and taking that into my adult life. There, I have done. When I start listing off the things that I've done in my short time
Right,
to
right.
people, they just look at me. They're like, "Now, how old are you?
I know.
Where do you come from?" And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I tell people, I'm like, most of them were not a success in general terms. I didn't
Right,
make a ton of
right,
money. They were
right,
outgoing, blah 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 blah. Right?
right, right.
But hey, I think this is a great idea. I think there's merit to this. Let's do the
Yep,
feasibility test. Let's look at it.
yep.
If all that lines up and works out, why the hell not? Let's see
That's
what it
exactly right.
turns into.
Yep,
Like your ambassador program. I'm sure when you first had the thought, you're like, well, what's this going to be in 10 years?
yep.
Hell if I know. But
That's
does
right.
it really matter?
Right.
Let's go do it.
Let's find out. Let's find
Yeah,
out. We didn't even know if
absolutely.
anybody would come. We didn't even know if anybody would come, Dale. We didn't even know if we'd get it off the ground, but by golly, we
Right.
did. It worked.
Right.
But you mentioned something earlier about how you think the kids are looking for those boundaries, and I could not agree with you more. I think it's our job as adults to let kids do what you just described. Let them think, let them come up with whatever bizarre, crazy ideas they are inclined to come up with. Then, as adults, it's our job to just sit back and let them rant on, let them give it a go. As long as it's, as you said, not illegal or doesn't do bodily harm,
Right.
it's our job to be there and support them. Not say, well,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that. It's our job to say, well, how are you going to do that? Figure it out, And
Yep.
if they want help from you as an adult, yeah, you should help them when they need it, but let them butt their head against the wall. Let them give it a go. If it fails, it fails. Some of the most valuable lessons we learn in life come from the times that we've failed.
Yeah.
You go through it. It's hard. It's horrible. It hurts. It's agonizing. But once you get past the immediacy of the failure and you have a chance to reflect back, you think, well, maybe if I'd have done that different, or maybe if I had
Yep.
been less insistent about that part, maybe it'd work. So the next time you incorporate those lessons you learned, and that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And as kids, they of course they're going to push the envelope. That's part of
Yep.
their job. And they're just
Yep.
finding out who they are. They're figuring out how the frick this world works. And so, oh, that looks like fun. Let's just go do that. Well, they get thrown in jail. Well, that's not cool. So they're
Let's not
pushing
do
the
that again.
envelope. Yeah, that's their job. And it's our job as adults, if we love these kids, to stand back, watch them hit their head against the wall, long as it's not, we want to keep them from doing the illegal stuff. But it's our job to not necessarily be their friends and be buddy buddy, but be the adult who cares enough about them to watch them as they're experimenting. And when they hit a bad place, to step up and say, "This is the line, dude.
Yep.
You will not cross this because it is not good for you.
Yep.
It
Yep.
will not take
Absolutely.
you in a healthy, productive place." So I'm here because I'm older. I've been there. I see it, and I care enough about you that I'm going to take a stand here and say, "No, don't do that."
hmm
So,
one of the biggest lessons for me as a leader, an adult leader, was when we were over in Germany.
yep.
Real quick story on that, everyone. So we were stationed in Ansbach, Germany, for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had a business, but I still have it. It's a print brokerage I do everything online. I
Right.
had salespeople. I had a whole business. I'm like, okay, I could still manage this from
Yep.
Germany.
Yep.
Okay, so it's 6, 7 hour difference, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I could do this.
Right.
I
Right.
got into it about 3 months. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore because my day didn't even start until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was working
Yeah.
midnight every night. And it just wasn't working. I didn't have the
Yeah.
skill set to manage a business from a different continent. That was not my
Yep.
my toolbox. So I'm like,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
we're putting this away. Let's figure something else out.
Right.
And so I went down to the teen center. So on most U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force bases, they
Uh-huh.
have CYS, Child Youth Services. And so they
Uh-huh.
have CDC, which is the little babies, SAS, which is usually grade school kids, and
Uh-huh.
then the teen center, which is 11 to 18-year-olds. So I went in, I walked in, I said, hi, I'm an old 4-H guy. I would
Yeah.
like to volunteer.
Right.
And I heard that you guys use 4-H as part of your curriculum. Do you guys have 4-H meetings? Do you guys have fairs? Do you have
Right.
projects? What do you do? And Pam, the director at the time, she said, no, we don't do traditional 4-H. We just use the curriculum as part of our programming,
Uh-huh.
right? I said,
Right.
okay, so can I help and can we start a 4-H club? And she's like,
Right.
yes, we can. Fast forward a couple months, she's like, okay, Dale, you're a volunteer. I want to pay you to do what you're doing now. She's like, I don't want you to just
Oh,
volunteer.
wow.
I want to pay
Yeah.
you as a CYPA. I said, okay,
Right.
fine. So we started. So that's the premise to this. So I started working with the kids, kind of started feeling them out. These kids had zero experience with organized clubs.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
And I'm like, because I am spoiled working in the Idaho 4-H program because the
Yes.
4-H
Yep.
kids that I worked with, I grew up with, and subsequently as an adult mentored cream of the crop. And I'm
Yep.
not being biased. That's just the
No, no.
reality. It
I hear
is
you. Yes, it
they're
is.
just the cream of the crop.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was there, I was like, ooh, I was literally starting from scratch. And Andy, I've never done that before, ever. So got in, started the clubs. All the kids in the teen center came over, probably 20 or 30 of them. And as soon as I started talking about project manuals and I started talking about meetings and I was starting
Yep.
to talk
Yep.
about stuff that they were required to do,
Yep.
they all left.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
this is too much like homework. This is too much.
Yeah.
This sounds like work to me,
Yep.
and I don't want to do that.
Uh,
So that part didn't work out so well. And then I fast forwarded. I said, okay, let's do some kind of team leadership program.
right.
So we created the youth council,
Mm-hmm.
like our builders club,
Yep. Yep.
and we created the youth council. And the director at the time, our building director, said, listen, I'll even let the youth council establish some of our programming and be part of the rule-making process.
Uh-huh.
And we actually went to the garrison, which the garrison commander is the one that's in charge of the entire base. And we even
Uh-huh.
went to the garrison commander, and the garrison commander said, yes, we would love to have you part of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
community mentorship and leadership too. Not me, the kids.
Right. Right. Right.
And so we just developed that. We developed it. And the hardest part of that whole thing for me, Andy, was letting them fail.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me because,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, working with you for so many years, I knew what to do. And so
Yes.
they're like,
Right.
okay, well, we want to do a dance. Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Here's the list of things that you need to do.
Right.
Okay. And here's our deadline. We have to have this many things done by
Mm-hmm.
this date. And
Yep.
if we don't have them finished by that date, then there's no dance. We don't
Right.
have anything.
Yep.
And we'd get to that date. I'm like, okay, we'd sit down in a leadership meeting. I'm like, all right, so XYZ, how much have you got accomplished? Oh, I haven't done anything. Okay. Johnny, did you do your thing? No. Sally, do you? No. I'm like, all right, guess what, guys? We have no dance.
Yeah.
But we'll get it all done today.
Yeah.
No, this is the
Yeah.
deadline. Today is the drop dead date. No
Yep.
event, no dance. And the look on their faces broke
Yep.
my heart.
Yeah.
But just like what you've taught me many, many times, is that guess what?
Yeah.
The next time they had something
Yeah.
to do, I said, here's our drop dead date. What do we
Yep.
need to accomplish? And they're like,
Yep.
we got to do all of these things. Because if not, Mr. Dale's going to pull
Yeah.
the plug. And we don't want to do
That's
that.
right. That's
You know,
right.
and,
That's right.
and they did. This is what I learned. The kids didn't die. they didn't go in the corner and suck their thumbs for the next 3 days.
Yep.
Their parents didn't come and lambaste me. So I was like, okay, I as a leader have learned a lot as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And it worked out for the best. But that was a hard lesson for me, man.
It is. Yeah. It is. But think what those kids learned because you had the determination to do it the way it really needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. And we subsequently went on we wanted to go to 4-H conference in DC.
Uh-huh.
Long story. You know the story.
Oh,
A long,
Yes.
long, really difficult. I almost got
Yep.
fired kind of issue went through this.
Right.
And the
Right.
only reason I almost got fired was that I wasn't able to keep my mouth shut because of the injustice that was going on. Long
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
short, okay, so we weren't able to go to the 4-H conference, but I still brought 6 kids to DC from
Yep.
Germany to
Yep.
do our own version of conference.
No small
And
feat, Dale.
no small feat, man. I'm very
Exactly.
proud of that. I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
But here's the
Yep.
thing, it was the kids that were in the youth council that we had gone through all those trials and tribulations, all those fail forward moments. And
Yes.
I had to teach both the kids and the parents how to fundraise and how much
Yep.
work it would take. I
Yep.
remember Brandon, my wife, man, she'd get so angry at me. She's like, Dale, you're leaving again to go do a fundraiser? I was like, yeah. She's like, who's helping you? No one.
Yes.
She's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
well, aren't the kids and parents supposed to be doing it? Yep. But they have to see, I have to
Yep.
lead by example. I have to
Yep.
show
No.
that you put in the work, you get the results.
Yep.
And, it only took me about a month of doing that. And finally, guess what? Everybody showed up at every
There you
event
go.
and
There
everybody
you
was
go,
there.
Dale.
And we fundraised, brother, to bring 6 kids and 3
Oh.
chaperones from Germany to
Yes.
Washington,
Yeah.
D.C. for six
Yeah.
days, 5 days, 6 days. We,
Yeah.
we raised 100% of the funds.
No, that's quite an accomplishment, Dale.
And we did it in 6 months.
No, that's amazing. It really is. And
Insane.
and think what those kids got, not just from going to DC and seeing
Mm-hmm.
some of the things in the nation's capital, but the experience of learning to fundraise, learning to work together for this common goal that they all
Yeah.
wanted to achieve. And they did
Yeah.
it. With your help and guidance, they did it.
It was crazy, man. It was amazing. It was
No, it's
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
And we
Yep.
had a lot, and it wasn't just the timeline that was against us. We actually had people in management around that community that was actively trying to prevent us from doing it.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
that in itself was an amazing
Yeah.
lesson to the kids.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Because when the official trip got the plug was pulled on it, um, I was given a DNS or do not discuss. I was told I cannot talk.
Really?
Yeah, or I would lose my job. That was part of the issue.
Wow.
So that's how
Wow.
bad it was. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, when the families and the kids finally found out about what was going on,
Yeah.
I gave them an ultimatum. I said we can accept what it is, and because the organization was kind of giving us, well, we'll send you somewhere local. We'll send
Yeah.
you to
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
amusement
Yeah.
park. Or they were trying to
Yeah.
appease the situation.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
said, we can accept that, or we can move forward. And we can do
Yep.
it 100% on our own. Well, how do we do that? I have no freaking clue, but we
Yeah.
can do it because I have
Yep.
faith in us. And the
Yep.
kids, every single one of them chose, they're like, nope, we're doing it ourselves, period.
Yep.
We're going to
Yep.
make it happen. And that moment right there that was my aha moment
Yes.
of
Absolutely. Yeah.
my job here is done, if that makes sense, kind of deal. But
Well, yeah. Yeah. That's the ultimate success.
yeah, it really was, man.
Yeah.
And I love telling that story. I tell that story all the time. I'm like,
It's
yeah,
a great
I
story.
had six
It's a
kids come
great.
from Germany to freaking DC and blah blah blah. It was
Well, for people that haven't done something like that, they may not
yeah,
fully understand what's involved. But I mean, that is a huge undertaking and a tremendous amount of work to pull it off. And you guys did
yeah,
it.
yeah. And one of the things, and then I'll shut up about it, but one of the things that tripped us up was that no one had ever done it in the entire European
Yes.
program.
Right. There you
No
go.
one had ever done it. So of
Yep.
course for you and me, we're like, well, hell yeah, let's do it. Nobody's
Yes.
done it.
Right.
So this
Right.
is a challenge. This is an
Yep.
opportunity to do something no one
Mm-hmm.
ever's done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
That's
But the
it.
management, because we're risk mitigation
Yep.
society now,
Yep. Yep.
management said no, it's never been done before, so we are not going to be the first to do it because
That's right.
there could be issues, there could be
Oh
problems,
yeah.
there could be
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I could trip over the curb and break my neck right now.
Right. Right.
We're not playing the woulda, coulda, shoulda game.
Yeah.
We need to do this. So,
Yep.
but
Yep. Yep.
and it's because of people like yourself that I had the balls to push them to do that.
Well, it goes around and it comes around, Dale.
Yeah.
Because somebody helped me when I was a kid is why I'm still here doing it.
Yep.
Because I owe for what I was given.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a lifetime of giving. whether it's directly to the 4-H program or
Yep.
just paying it forward because of people like yourselves. And there's 17 more stories to go around, but
Yep. That's right.
I want to keep us to a somewhat decent timeline here because you and I,
Okay.
brother, we
Oh, I
3 o'clock this
know.
afternoon, we're still going to be
Yep.
talking about it.
Exactly.
So here's my you kind of touched on a little bit of where you're going, what you're doing. Do you mind again having this kind of a chat, sitting down
Oh,
and talking a little
no.
bit more
I love it.
specific?
Love it, Dale. Bring it on.
All right, man, let's do that. You and I keep threatening to do some collaboration anyway. We've been talking
Yeah.
about this for years,
Right.
and I might be wrong, but I feel like our timing is better now that
Oh, yes, I agree. I
we're
agree,
in
Dale.
better places. You're
Yep.
you're
Yep.
healthier.
Yep.
I'm working out some issues that
Yep.
I'm dealing with so that I can
Yep.
be more proactive. And I would love to figure some more stuff out. So the next conversation I'd love to have with you is a little bit more on the body language side and the communication
Okay.
side and talk about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's for another day, brother. So
Cool.
man, Andy, I love you, man. I love you, love you, love you. You've had
Back
such an
at you,
impact
Dale.
on me. And dude, you're a superhuman being. There's no
Well, thanks. Thanks for the compliment, Dale. Not sure how warranted it is, but thank you anyway. And I'll say the same at you. I mean, all those years at teen conference, you came back and came back and came back, and those kids just thought the sun rose and set on Dale Maxwell. So you have made your mark.
Yeah, well, only, and I'll accept it. It's hard for me to accept those because I
I
don't feel
know.
like I
True
just feel
story.
like I'm an extension of you,
Well, well,
and
that's a magnificent compliment. But I'll just tell you those were the days. Those were awesome days at Teen Conference, and you were a huge part of it. And man, I cherish the memories of those. However many years that was, 15, 20 years that we went
yeah,
and did that up there. It was just
yeah,
freaking awesome, man.
yeah. I feel older
So
than
you
I
keep doing
should.
what you
No,
what?
I was going to say I feel older than I should because to say that I was at a conference for 20 years is just mind-boggling to
I
me.
know.
But
Well,
you know,
I know. Well, think how I feel. I'm down the road farther than you are, Dale.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so, all right, man. Well, I'll let you go,
All right,
brother. I
Dale.
love you. Thank you very, very much for your time. And
Love
yeah,
you
I'm
too,
glad we
Dale.
were
Hey,
able to
you
get
keep
the.
on.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah. I was just saying, you keep whatever it is you're drinking back there, keep drinking it because you are on fire, and just keep on doing it, man. Keep on doing it.
All right, man. Brother, I appreciate it. Love you. And hang out for just a second. So we're going to end the
Okay,
broadcast and then we're still
will
on
do.
here. All right,
I'll stay here.
everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been amazing. I've gotten to talk in the last 2 weeks with two of my biggest mentors in my life, not including my mom and my dad. And this has just been insane. I hope you guys loved us reminiscing and talking about some stuff that's super duper on our heart. We're going to keep on doing this KickASSery program. We're going to keep going. Nicole, awesome. You want to talk about an old school 4-H'er right there, but we're going to keep doing this. And I'm compiling these, and I'm also building a YouTube channel alongside of this. I haven't put it out yet because I want to get some more content on there first. So then that way this is evergreen. This content's out there forever. If you guys know of someone that you think is a great conversation to have, I don't care what it's about. I really don't. I just want to just talk about what kicks ass in people's lives. Give you an idea. I have a veteran, Army veteran coming on next month. I have a chef who has been in books and podcasts coming up next month. I have business owners coming up. I have communication leaders coming up. So January is going to be freaking stupendous. So guys, stick around, give it a thumbs up, share this out so we can grow this community. Andy, thanks again, man. I appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you, Dale.
All right, everybody, have a good one.